Brokers Alliance and the National Insurance Clearinghouse present the Business Insurance Zone, a Bravo video event. Broadcasting in HD 1080p on Vimeo, YouTube, the Insurance Newsnet, Agent Navigator, BrokersAlliance.com, and on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and the Insurance Forum. And now your host, the whiz of the biz, Steve Savant. Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone, the talk show that spotlights insurance in your practice, keeps you up to speed on insurance news and products, features insurance strategies from top advisors. Get in the zone, the Business Insurance Zone. Our email address is thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or you can call us at 1-800-290-7226, extension 147 for any quotes or questions you have on life insurance, DI, LTC, annuities, or group pension. And remember, I'm not a legal or tax advisor, so before moving forward with anything here on the show today, always check in with your CPA or your attorney. And if you, of course, you're FINRA licensed and you're with a broker-dealer, always check in with your compliance officer before going forward with anything here on our show. And today, and we've had Tom Anderson on before, but we're welcoming our special guest today, Tom Anderson, from a Director of Sales Training for AG Life Companies. That's American General in our language. How you doing? Welcome, Tom.
Hi, Steve. Thanks.
And we've had him on. We've talked about prospecting with Tom before. We've talked about referrals. We've talked about underwriting as part of the process. That blows my mind right there. That's a whole nother area and arena. We've talked about so many things with Tom in other areas. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about niche marketing. Now, and when I think about niche marketing, I think about niche markets, but maybe we're talking about you as an agent, you as an advisor, you as a field underwriter, as we said in one other show. This is your niche market. We're going to try to see if you plug into some of these areas.
Exactly.
Now, when I think about broad scale, I could always hold myself out as a financial advisor. I could. That's my general practice. But I have a niche area of expertise. And so my expertise is in this insurance zone, i.e. the show we're on.
Right.
However, when you're talking about niche marketing, what are you talking about when you say niche, this narrow area where you can fill a gap? What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is probably best aimed at someone who has built a practice to a point where they've got a good block of established clients, because that's the source of really determining where and if a niche will work for you. Basically, what we mean by a niche in this context, Steve, is where's the money in your area? Where's a good center where you could go to really build your business? And quite honestly, you want to go where the money is. Remember the old saying, why do I rob banks? Well, that's where the money is. Yeah, exactly. Right. So in order to do that, give me, for instance, in my area in Texas, for instance, around Houston, very, very high concentration of the medical professionals. One of the top medical centers in the country is in Houston. And so I might look at that. I might think, maybe I can really build a niche among the medical community. Now, that could be too large a niche. I might want to say, well, let me focus on physicians from overseas, or resident physicians, or or physicians in a certain specialty. So the point is, you want to focus the niche down so that it's something you can work in and you have the ability to get into. And the second part of that is have several niches, because one or two may not be enough. They may not be as profitable. So in order to do that, you start thinking, well, that might be an area I might want to grow my practice. As you mentioned, I might be perceived as a general financial advisor, practitioner, but I want to become known as a real specialist.
But you just said something to me that actually, that was a revelation. I think I'm having an economic epiphany right on the show. I mean, I'm thinking, what if I did?
I feel it, folks. Wow.
Well, what if I have a general practice and it's not cutting it from a marketing point of view? I'm wondering if I could manage 3 mini niches or 3 mini areas of expertise. Instead of having a global view, maybe I should have several little ones that in its total composite really is my practice.
Right.
Instead of trying to, we're always trying to say we're distinctive. So let's talk about that. What kind of niches are you talking about? Like I know this guy does disability with specialist physicians only.
Yes.
So unless you're a surgeon, a brain surgeon, orthopedic surgeon, specialty, he doesn't talk to regular doctors.
Yes.
That's very niche. So what if I could have a collection of niches that made up my practice as a whole? I like that. So talk about.
Well, here's where you start. First of all, the reason I suggest that you be more established before thinking about this is because the source would be think about who are your best clients. And what is it about them that you put them in that category?
Now, when you say best clients, you mean the guy that has made me most money, or give me most referrals, or what's the
Combination
definition?
of both.
Okay.
It could be one or all of those. Someone who I'm very comfortable with. I know I play golf with him. I may see him socially. I know a lot about him, and he's comfortable with me. He's given me referrals. He may have given me actually more than one piece of business. Now, the reason that's a great source is because what does he do? The key to niche marketing is to find others like your best clients that you consider to be the people you really like working with because of what they do, the profession they're in. They might be business owners. They may be, as we said, specialty physicians. So I would suggest you start there. That's what you do. Once you do that, you come up with a list of that. Then you want to do what we call an informational interview. I want to approach one or more of those clients and say, hey, Steve, if you were me, how would you build my practice with people like yourself? And get them to help you do that, to come up with ways to begin to penetrate that particular niche that they're in.
Why would a client take the time out to do that?
That's why you want to only focus on the best ones, because again, if we've talked about several steps in client building in terms of prospecting, et cetera. If the main reason a client has decided to work with you is because you've made them money, you've saved them money, you've really helped them get their financial place in order, then they're enthusiastic about you. They want to help you build a business. In fact, many of these people are business owners themselves. For instance, let's pick the physicians market. For instance, in Texas, which is a great niche, they're business people. So they understand that. They understand, they work on referrals. They work on business building. So they're a great source to go to from an informational standpoint. How would you do it? What would be some of the things you'd suggest I do? That's kind of the way to approach it, to help determine whether there is a niche there for you.
And if I looked at that area where let's say I got the definitions from some of my best clients, they helped me formulate or really define and articulate this niche. Now I have it. What kind of research? Do I have to go out and do some demographic marketing? Do I have to do some trolling on the web to get some stats and feel where I'm playing here and how can I market it and all that?
Yes, yes to all the above, because once again, you want to think of yourself now as a business person. So how do I grow my business? And what does that mean? How can I build a stream of income from that business? Are these people productive? Can I sell more insurance? Build my assets under management? You got to think of it in terms of your own particular business and whether that's going to be a resource for you. So yes to the above, because you want to look at, are those particular industries or niches growing in your area? We live in a challenging economic time, and not every business model and every business type is growing. So absolutely, you want to do that. And
by the way, that's a big point, because I think we're changing possibly a major shift, a paradigm shift, and what was the old niche marketing way of aiming at a target market may not be the same today.
Yes.
And that's how fundamentally things are moving.
Yes.
Globally as well as in the United States.
And to your point also, you want to have more than one niche. So a good example would be, my sister lives in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, Boeing just built a plant there to build airplanes. Well, my goodness, if I was a financial advisor and knowing, let's say I was working with engineers, that's one of my, several of my clients, my best clients are engineers. There's a great opportunity for me. Obviously, if Boeing's building airplanes there and they're bringing a lot of people in or hiring a lot of people, there's going to be a pool of engineers that could be potential clients for me.
Well, let me ask you something about niche, though. Let's say I am an outgoing, driver emotive, type A personality, and I'm not analytic, and I'm going to engineers that work at Boeing.
I wonder who that could be. Who's he talking about here?
I'm trying to think of a person that's somewhat ADD, and maybe he isn't, although I am personally. I don't know who we're talking about here, but I'm detailed and my grids are. But I'm just saying, I would say to that, that's a great niche. It's an opening market. It's everything else. Can I play, though? Because my personality isn't double E majors.
Right.
I'm not really detailed. I'm not analytic by nature. Does that? Sometimes I have to say that's a niche, but I don't know if it's my niche.
Exactly. That's a very good point. You have to find those type of individuals you're comfortable working with. So the comfort has to work both ways. Not only are those clients that you want to approach to help you build a niche want to be comfortable with you, but you want to be comfortable with that type of clientele. So absolutely. Now let's talk about some ways. How do you do it now? Well, what I would suggest then is setting up what we call an informational interview with one or more of those clients, and just over lunch or something, a social event, just a conversation where you ask them those open-ended questions. You know, tell me a little bit about the organizations that you belong to. Can you name 4 or 5 other professionals like yourself that come to mind? No, you want to kind of focus and drill down a bit to get them to think about how they can help you penetrate that niche. It could be direct referrals to others they know are working in the same industry or field. It could be invitations to come to their meetings. That's a great way in the industry meetings. Mm-hmm. It can be a time waster, though. This is where, once again, I advise this approach for the more seasoned producer, business owner, business professional, because you know, you've got enough things going on that you can devote some extra mm-hmm. time and energy, because this could take some time to do. It can be very lucrative, though, because mm-hmm. now you can be recognized as the go-to person for financial advice and financial services within that community, within that niche.
Could I turn an area of expertise into a niche?
Yes.
Where I have I'm kind of got this little area here.
Yes.
Or maybe one of my social issues, maybe it's a hobby, or I'm really actually good. I met a guy who sells, on the side, he collects mugs and he goes to all the shows. And I suggested to him that he write a newsletter about Steins and just mention at the tail end of his newsletter, oh, by the way, I'm a financial planner, but I just love
yes.
German import Steins.
Well, what I would suggest to answer that would be, you want to really think about, are the needs of that particular niche, are they needs that you can help provide?
And if I have a natural, like in the example I gave, these are natural entrees into it. Could be my expertise, could be my education, could be my socialization. We need to pick up all that. Well, listen, we're going to continue to talk about niche marketing as it relates to our sales and practice. You can write us, and we have information on this. You can order it at thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or call us toll free 1-800-290-7226, extension 147, or visit us on our website at www.brokersalliance.com. You're listening to the Business Insurance Zone, the talk show that focuses on insurance in your practice. We'll be right back with more from Tom on niche marketing right after the break.
Steve Savant here. For years, I've heard that less than 2% of all term life insurance ends in a claim. That's not many, and clients had to die to receive the benefits. That's the old term insurance. Now start selling the new term insurance. The term insurance that covers your client through a chronic illness, a catastrophic event, or a terminal diagnosis, and pays their monthly premium during extended periods of unemployment. What term life insurance can do all that? Western Reserve Alliance Advantage Term with living benefits. No other term insurance product bundles so many solutions to life's unexpected problems. And all in one policy. So for more information, call Brokers Alliance 1-800-290-7226. Stop selling the old term. Start selling the new.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant, financial color commentator and interviewer extraordinaire. You can listen to this show or any of our shows on Vimeo, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, the Insurance Newsnet, Agent Navigator, the Insurance Forum. My goodness, we're everywhere where you want to be. Remember, when you're watching our show, anything that you hear on our show, always check in, because I'm not a legal tax advisor, so always check with a CPA or an attorney. And if you're FINRA licensed and you're with a BD, always talk to your broker-dealer's compliance officer before going forward with any of the things we're talking about. And remember, we have giveaways on the show. Anything you hear, we probably got documents on it. You can always write it on our email at thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or you can just call us 1-800-290-7226, extension 147. We're with Tom Anderson, the Director of Sales for AG Life Companies. And Tom's been on our show before, and we're talking about niche marketing. You have to go back to, if you missed the first segment, you have to go back. I actually had an economic epiphany, a revelation of, I think, a revelation of premium proportions, personally. I have to go think about this. We're talking about niche marketing and how to expand your practice through these, what appears at first to be kind of narrow, but maybe not.
Exactly.
Maybe not.
Exactly.
So now you're in the niche, whatever that niche is, right?
Right.
What do you do now?
What you have to do now is really learn what some of the attributes, characteristics of the people in that niche are. So for instance, using engineers as an example, many of them belong to various associations. They have meetings monthly. You mentioned earlier in the first segment about doing some research. So you want to find out what kind of association meetings are there in your area. And your client, who is a member of that niche, can be the one to introduce you. Now, there's several ways that can take place. He or she can make direct introductions, in other words, bring you to a social function, a fundraiser, and do direct introductions. Or many of these organizations I have found have monthly meetings, and they love getting an outside speaker. So if you like doing the public speaking, and Steve made a great point earlier about if you have a specific expertise that you feel is a fit or aligns with some of the concerns or needs of that niche, they will be happy to have you come and speak. You want to keep it generic, though. Maybe that doesn't have to be said, but a lot of them don't want someone who's going to pitch a product or pitch themselves too much. But
or a specific carrier for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to keeping it high level and positioning yourself as someone who really is the go-to person, when you have this type of an issue, can be very powerful.
One little adjunct, just because of the homiletics involved, you want to make sure when you're speaking at a 30,000 global, and that you don't know, if you don't know the detail, the last thing you want to do is add Q&A to that session. So you just want to be able to speak, have a little pontification, keep it 30,000 feet, keep it general.
Yes.
Because if you get into it, you'll always find somebody in that audience that actually knows something. And if you get into Q&A, you may get caught. I also noticed that you hear publishing articles in their magazines. Maybe just a little side note. I think that's kind of cool, because some people may not feel comfortable. Public speaking is still the #1 dreaded fear in America, next to death. I don't know. I still don't get that. I think death would probably be one, but it isn't. And then, but writing, some people are pretty good about writing.
Yes.
And with spell check, even I
it's
can write an
foolproof.
article.
Sure.
I mean, how can you screw it up?
Sure.
So you talked about writing, and then you said doing seminars that may have some kind of relationship back to that, back to the public, to kind of tie that all in. So I think there's some ideas here.
Yes, and that's really what you want to kind of compile if you're thinking about developing a niche market, is different marketing ideas and tools that can get you in there. Because at the end of the day, what's the goal of niche marketing? Is to compile names, to get names of people, to get in front of people who can be clients, become clients for you. So to kind of summarize, I think what you want to do is think about your top 4 or 5 clients. What do they do? What kind of organizations do they belong to? What hobbies do they have? And can they help you to meet with or talk to others who have those same interests or background? And there's a lot of tools, as we mentioned. Go to the organizational meetings, offer public speaking services, writing blogs, et cetera, et cetera. It can be a real way to build your business.
Now, you use this phrase in one of your docs here called magnetic marketing, which, sounds like you've written something here, or actually scored something that attracts you to them or them to you, or maybe both.
Exactly. Well, what we mean by magnetic marketing, if you think of what a magnet does, it attracts metal filings to it. So once again, assuming that you have a client who is pretty successful or well known in their particular field, a business owner, for instance, a professional, they're going to attract others within their magnetic field. They have CPAs, they have other advisors, they have attorneys, they have family, friends. Don't overlook some of the more common traditional connections that people have. And with LinkedIn and Twitter, it could be huge, the amount of connections that these folks have. And because of who they are and their stature in the community, for instance, they attract, and that's what we mean by a magnetic field, they attract these different functions and other people to them. And once again, I'd be happy to provide this, but I've kind of built a diagram that kind of helps you as a tool to come up with the categories. So for instance, when you meet with your client, you can ask them, could you help me kind of focus or drill down to what some of these specific people and functions could be that you have interaction with, just by the fact that you are a doctor, an attorney, a business owner, et cetera. So it's building this kind of a field of people around that individual that can be a source of meetings and so on for you.
I think it'd be great if we could create a niche, like a menu of niche markets that are different than the traditional ones, because everybody, I think a lot of people focus on affluent markets that are the obvious: doctor, attorney, things of that nature, CEOs. I'm thinking about that next level down. The higher upper management people all have money.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we forget them because we're trying to get into the big boy
Yes.
or the gal who's writing the check, right?
Yes.
And I think we forget some of there's a whole nother echelon. And we have agents and producers who live in what I call the lower affluent market, not
Yes.
the higher end, but the lower, and have a wonderful a career and have good cash flow with their product lines. So when I think of marketing, magnetic marketing, and how to get into secondary lines, maybe like I don't know, I'm just making this up as we talk. Secondary lines where maybe it's not physicians or attorneys, which seems like everybody's shooting their gun at that. But I have a whole other area to niche and carve out for myself, and to see if I can play in like you said, what are their social events? What are
Yes.
their nonprofits that they go to? Right? They're sporting, maybe they're tennis people, maybe they're in Scottsdale. There's a whole community of bocce players. I had never thought about that before.
No.
High for money. I know there's people that play out here in Fountain Hills where we broadcast in the beautiful thing, and they play frisbee golf as a organized sport.
Mm-hmm.
See, so there's all these niches, and you have a niche, and sometimes we don't even know our own niches. And then we start
Exactly.
talking, well, I go to church every Sunday. Well, maybe that's your niche.
Exactly.
Right? So we have to come up with niche areas, carve out. And I like the beginning, as I had my little epiphany, I'd like to have many niches to maybe it's a composite of several, maybe 4 to 5, that actually make up my entire practice.
Exactly.
And those components, I love it because if one fails, right, the whole practice doesn't fail.
Yes, and because we have these factors we can't control, like the economics of an area.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it really does play to have success to have several.
When I think about niche marketing, I always think narrow and deep, not narrow and shallow. Would you agree with that?
I would.
Narrow and
100%.
deep. So let's say my expertise area is, and we have an agent I'm thinking about right now. He deals in hard to place cases. So he's known as the doctor.
Yes.
When you need coverage and you have issues, this guy is known in his community. He's very well versed in the medical. He was a person who failed as a medical student, came into the financials, but he was already conditioned
Yes.
to speak in medical terms.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
he became good at writing cover letters, inner office to back to underwriters. He engages us extremely well, right? He knows his craft. He's got it down. And that's another thing about niche marketing. I'm thinking sometimes you have to go out and educate yourself, as we do. When we're talking about things on this show, we'll go out to the Google and say, who else talks about niche marketing? How do they talk about it? How do they frame the argument?
Yeah.
You know, so when I'm thinking about one of the other aspects that you brought up, I'm looking at this chart, which I really like because it's kind of a wheelhouse.
Yes.
Marketing, if I can say it like it's wheelhouse marketing, and we'll send this to you again. This is all on PowerPoint.
Absolutely.
Magnetic marketing, and it kind of gives you, it splits out the little neighborhoods. I kind of say, like, I noticed this is family, neighbors, friends, civic activities, attorneys, CPAs, peers in other companies, co-workers. It kind of gives you, this is your good nucleus, and out of that, I wonder if I can discover in my generic practice, if somewhere along the line I can discover, oh my gosh, there's a niche I can actually put myself in. You know, I mean, we all want a niche to the CEO.
Oh, sure.
We all want that. I mean,
Everybody.
I just want to deal with people that have serious money. I want to write $1 million worth of premium on each person. Well, that's probably not going to happen. Probably. Okay.
Sure.
Now, I'm looking at your summary here. I'm thinking about the one thing nobody wants to do, and I'm wondering if you've done it. Now, this is a heavy close because I haven't warned him about this. Okay. Conducting extensive research to determine what niche marketings exist. Nobody wants to do the R&D on this. Have you done R&D on some of this?
Yes,
Okay.
and in building this, if time permits, I have one great case example. I play golf with a producer in Houston who has, in my mind, a really unique niche. What he does is he works with divorced women who are former spouses. Now, if you think of Houston, Texas, what do you think of? Oil and gas. So you have the international headquarters of some of the largest oil companies. So many of those executives, they get divorced from their spouse, and they have tremendous assets in their 401ks and their pension plans. Well, through the divorce settlement, she now has access to quite a large sum of money. And many times, being of the older generation, and many of these men, mostly men, are of the older generation, she may not have had a lot of input into the financial planning and the overall financial affairs of the relationship. So now she has this tremendous pool of money that she has access to. What he does is he runs a series of seminars. It takes about 9 months in Texas for the whole divorce to become finalized. Over that period of time, he runs a series of seminars with change of life, therapists. I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about now they're in a different world, and in terms of financial and their lifestyle, to help these women ease into the new status they have. He has built a tremendous practice. He earns their trust.
I love this. The guy's niche marketing off the sorrow of separation.
Yes. But he shows them how they now have a tremendous opportunity to get on with their lives, and that their finances will be taken care of.
That is a niche market. I never even thought about.
Neither did I.
Professional women getting divorced who have money. And if you're single and an advisor, maybe this is your gold digger way of doing it. I don't know.
I didn't think of that either, folks.
Reverse economy here. I'm going to these seminars with all these single women, and whoever's net worth is the highest wins. Oh my goodness. Well, remember, you heard it on this show first. We're now doing a whole issue on single advisors hawking their wares in front of divorced women. Okay, fine. But no, I like it because that's smart, because our culture is changing. We're trying to manage our practice. That is a niche, an unbelievable niche too, and especially if you pick up on corporate courtship lessons that you've learned from some of the sales tips you've given on our other shows and so forth, I think this would be huge for your practice. Tommy, I want to thank you for this. This has been a really good show. I appreciate the opportunity. Well, listen, next week we'll be on another show. You won't want to miss it. We're always on our shows doing it. You can write us at the biz at brokersagalliance.com, or you can call us 1-800-290-7226, extension 447, or hop out onto our website at www.brokersagalliance.com. I'm Steve Savant. You've been listening to the Business Insurance Zone. That's the buzz on the biz for today. Get into the zone, the Business Insurance Zone.
This has been a Bravo video event of the National Insurance Clearinghouse and Brokers Alliance, one of the largest distributors of insurance products and services to a nationwide network of insurance professionals. You can contact Brokers Alliance at brokersagalliance.com or 1-800-290-7226, extension 147.